Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the SEANC View Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Owens, the Communications Director here at SEANC, joined by Artis Watkins, Executive Director, Government Relations Director, Suzanne Beasley, and podcast producer, Sam Klein. Let's have a great show. So we missed you last week, Suzanne. Did you have a good vacation? You didn't have a vacation.
It wasn't a vacation.
She was sick.
I had baby crud. I still have a little bit of it going on. You can hear it in my voice. So sorry that I'm croaky, y'all. But yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, today is Thursday, July 17th. For those wondering, it is National Dole Whip Day.
Okay.
It is National Lottery Day, National Tattoo Day, and World Emoji Day. So
it's a lot of national days. Now that's kind of strange because Dole Whip we just talked about a few weeks ago. Sammy did.
The Dole Whip is
the Dole Plantation in Hawaii. Got to go there and have some made there.
I'm a fan. So National Lottery Day. Happy National Lottery Day to all the state employees over at are they state employees?
They are. Yeah, absolutely.
They are.
So thanks for all your hard work. Like I said, today is July 17th. What's going on in North Carolina? I guess we always start with the budget. It seems to be some growing anxiety among the political class around Raleigh about the state budget since the federal bill has passed. It seems like more and more people want to talk about when are we getting a budget? How are we going to cope with these cuts? What's going to happen to Medicaid? We've heard it on a couple of shows and podcasts, and we've even talked about it a little bit. And one thing you always hear, it seems like, from one side is that, oh, don't worry, it's not going to affect us until the midterms. Now, is that really the case? After the midterms, yeah.
Well, I guess some of it may be true, but I mean, I would think that the legislature is planning right now for what's coming.
No, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
If they're saying it won't affect us till after the midterms, that's awesome. So there should be no problem giving raises and cost of living adjustments or bonuses or something meaningful for retirees this year. Because we have a dire need for that.
And we have a surplus right now, right? I mean,
we have a surplus.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, when there's money.
Yeah, like a big surplus.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny that there's any money, but when there's money, we don't generally get it.
We're at the last of the line.
Yeah. And when there's not money, we're the first place that experiences cuts and those kind of things. So.
And there's always a yin to the yang in politics. So on the other side is saying, oh, no, some of these cuts are going to happen right now. And I think there's probably a happy medium in there, or not happy medium in there somewhere, right? Some of these cuts are going to.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine any state crafting a budget without having to work around some of these cuts in a more immediate fashion. But what they choose to fill the gap with is the big question. So what we always have to watch out for, and for our members who might be listening, you need to call the legislature because everybody's going to say, don't cut me and definitely give me stuff. Everybody is going to say that downtown. And the legislature is going to have to figure out what they're going to do about continuing the tax cuts that they've kind of had built around how much surplus there might be and when they would kick in, those tax cuts would kick in. And what they're going to do about Medicaid, they expanded it. And now the federal government, after the midterms, is going to yank a ton of that money back. There's also, in addition to the question of the tax cuts, there's the Medicaid money that won't be coming from the feds after the midterms based on what was in this federal budget bill. And then you've got every other thing anybody wants. And there are so many ways to nickel and dime yourself out of hundreds of millions of dollars.
And we were talking a little bit before we started recording that it seems like state employees are always the first to hit when there's maybe a shortage or cuts are mentioned, but also the last to be mentioned when there's a surplus or
we're the last to get and the first to give. Definitely. That's not okay because it affects everyone in North Carolina. And everybody was really proud last week of where we came in as a state.
Yeah.
On those rankings you were talking about.
Number one in the nation, the top state in the nation for business, according to CNBC. We've won that 3 of the last 4 years. And I think you can go back and listen to our awesome podcast from last week for all the details. But one of the things that stuck out to me when I listened back to it was the whole thing about us being 29th in the nation in quality of life. And, you know,
it was crime, healthcare.
You had mentioned that, you know, more investment in state employees and public services may bring that up.
Oh, without a doubt.
Public services is why people come to North Carolina. It's why businesses come here to thrive. It's why people want to come here and raise their families. But, you know, there's always that public perception issue that they don't connect state employees providing the services that they get here in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know where people think they come from.
I don't either.
They don't come off a
don't
tree.
either.
I mean, the things we did well on in this ranking for businesses are the things where we have invested, not necessarily enough, but more than we have in the areas where we came in 29th. Like I said, healthcare, definitely. I mean, we're just a mess in terms of healthcare in every way as a state. Law enforcement is definitely not getting what they need at every level. And the point we made last week is that's not just folks with a badge and a gun. In a traditional police sense, you have an entire justice system set up with people who work for the courts, who work in probation and parole once somebody's been assigned to one of those state employees. The number of people who literally are just handling administratively our criminal justice system. You never think about them, but you couldn't do anything without them. You couldn't keep your crime cleaned up without the people who are tracking all of this. It's a lot to take care of.
Yeah, so one side is saying, oh, our great tax cuts have made us the greatest state in the nation for business. And the other side is saying, you know, it's our incentive packages or our... And neither side is saying what really makes the state great, which is the state employees, right?
They
So
provided
give us
that
a little bit of
everybody's
credit.
fighting over it right now, whether it's the governor or the legislature that caused this. And yes, we say it's the state employees that caused it because that without that infrastructure.
Yeah, at least give us a little credit.
I want them to think about how happy they get about these awards and these titles and think, if you guys keep cutting these public services, you're not going to get those awards and titles anymore.
Right.
And then you're going to be so sad because,
businesses are going to want to leave. And
I mean, it's awesome to be number one for business because without businesses, I mean, we all should be very pro-business, to be clear, because without businesses, you don't have jobs for people here. And
you don't have tax revenue.
Right. You don't have revenue. You have to have business and you have to have it be business friendly. But I'd a whole lot rather be lower on that poll for business and not be number one most expensive for healthcare. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a happy medium.
The worst in healthcare out.
The worst.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it is a tremendous juggling act. So whoever wants to claim the credit, fine. But nobody's stepping up to say, hey, I acknowledge we're the worst for healthcare. And so here's how I want to fix that.
Do you want to talk about those issues?
On Tim Boyum's podcast, I listened to that today, the Tying It Together. Shout out to Tim. He had Brian Lewis from New Frame and one of your favorite podcasts on, and Billy Warden from RLF Communications. And they talked a lot about the big, beautiful bill and Medicaid expansion and the impacts on the budget. Cuts on the federal level have an exponential impact in state level. So
North Carolina gets a lot of money.
And that's a kind of a fight that you're hearing all over the country, you know, like Gavin Newsom talking about California being a donor state where they pay more in than they get back. Seems like that's going to be a real hot button issue in the next election. So,
well, and then depending on what the state gets helps also determine what sometimes the local governments, the part of that they can get assistance on things from the state outside of just their tax base.
So it's a huge trickle-down effect.
It is.
The trickle-down. So maybe this is a good time to give DOT some love after all this flooding.
Yeah.
That we're talking about infrastructure and literally infrastructure like bridges are having to be inspected and, you know, make sure they're safe after all of this flooding that we've had.
Yeah, Governor Stein issued a state of emergency for after the Chantal. I guess it was a tropical storm, right? That came through.
Yeah.
All the flooding. And, you know, you don't really think about what all that affects. It's not just a flood, you know, there's all kinds of
Well, it's everything that's
tertiary
left
impact,
after,
you
know, those waters have moved through. Things may not be safe.
So our state employees are out there working hard to,
yes, they are.
as always, to mend the roads and get North Carolina moving again.
So I want to bounce back for 1 second because this kind of struck me when you were saying it, and it's something we used to talk about a lot I want to go back to it. You were talking about how North Carolina gets $2 back for every dollar we send to D.C. There was a similar study assessment done by Michael Walden, an economist at NC State, who was looking at retirees. This was years ago, maybe 10 years ago, but who was pointing out that for every dollar you give a retiree in terms of a COLA or something, a cost of living adjustment, they're putting that back in the economy. They're not putting it in some hedge fund somewhere as an investment. Yeah, they're not taking it with them to Switzerland to vacation. They're literally putting it in their local economy to go to the Food Lion, to go to Lowe's Home Improvement, to go for basic things.
For healthcare.
Right, for healthcare. Yeah. So, I mean,
especially state retirees, they obviously,
they mainly stay here. Yeah,
taking this in,
no,
especially public sector.
If somebody's just getting by, they're spending that money locally. Mm-hmm. So for every dollar you give those retirees, this economist had said, look, that has a multiplier effect in your state economy.
And that's always been one of our talking points for pay increases. That's important to your local economy. I mean, if somebody gets a pay raise, then they're going to go shopping or pay some bills or
buy groceries.
They're going to spend their money.
That's correct.
We're not buying a yacht from Austria,
right?
Yeah.
No, that money's going here.
Yeah,
that could be a huge topic, but.
Yeah, for some other day, we might want to delve more deeply in it and actually walk through what people have who know what they're doing and have studied this have come up with.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, the tax cuts in the big, beautiful bill and how that money probably goes, a lot of it goes into bank accounts and, into like savings accounts and things like that.
Yeah, anything you do for state employees and retirees, like we were saying, those are not wealthy people. At the end of the day, that's the message. If you call your legislators, you need to express how you need to be a priority, but also how making you a priority is good fiscal policy for the state. They're going to get your money back plus some.
And our retirees definitely need help. Because there's what's been since 2017. There was a real cost of a living adjustment. I think that was just 1%,
1%,
right?
Yep.
And I think the average pension payment is like $20,000 a year. That's close to the poverty line.
Yep.
And these are.
And let's not kid ourselves. There's going to be people listening to this who are not state employees or retired state employees who think to themselves, and I understand this would be your initial thought, why do I care? There is no pension where I work because those have gone away. In terms of a check you get once you retire. These days, it's whatever you have in your 401k. You do your best with that. You're on your own.
Good luck.
Good luck. So people sometimes are very angry if we even bring it up. Like, hey, they have a retirement plan. I don't. Forgetting that the retirement plan they have was funded largely by them. Mm-hmm. Because people who are retired now always put that 6% in every year out of their check. When, as we said last week, there was one time the state put in nothing and multiple times the state put in next to nothing. So they were funding their own system for many years. But they also took less pay than they would have made in the private sector to be in these jobs. That was the deal. So if you don't continue to recognize those retirees, why in the world would somebody come take your lackluster, inadequate, disrespectful pay to work in a state job?
Yeah, and your eroded benefits, too.
Yeah. I was going to touch on that. One of the biggest benefits that we had was health care, after you retire. That was huge.
That was a huge recruiting tool, if you think of it.
And we hear a lot about that. We still, there's a lot of talk about that. They need to get that back. You would attract, more state employees.
But this is what's happening. I think, like we were talking about, a dollar here comes back later. I don't think we're looking as long-term when legislating at any level of government as we used to. Now it's just what sounds good now. We'll cut this out. That'll be helpful. You might not see anything from that cut for 30 years. And in the meantime, you might do all kinds of devastation as side effects of that cut that don't make the 30-year payoff worth it. And I think the health care upon retirement for state employees is definitely an example of that.
And it's a thing like when I took this job here, I think my parents thought it was a state job. And so they were like, oh, you'll have health care at retirement. And I was like, nope. Not exactly. Yeah. But even people in the private sector know that would be a a huge thing to entice someone to work for the state. And that ended, was it 2021?
21.
Okay, so anyone hired after 2021, but everyone hired before still had it, right?
And then in the meantime, everybody who works for the state gets called everything but a child of God by the public because it's popular.
Yeah.
It's always been popular, but it's newly invigorated popular to poop on public employees.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk about that metaphor or whatever, that idiom you just said, because that sounds like a Texas thing. I've never heard that.
Well, it's not the way you say it normally, but this is a family podcast.
Oh, okay. It's funny. You also...
There's a real Texas way I could have said it.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking now.
Yeah, you got me. It's funny, though. I was listening back to the podcast I always do to pull out clips so we can promo it, And it's funny what I kind of missed during our conversation, and then I hear on the podcast, and I'm like, yeah, go artist, that was awesome.
You think the attention span is fully there, and then you go back and listen while you're editing, and you're like,
there's like a
did
part.
I miss that?
I drone on. And
no,
so
but
at some point you have to click out for your own.
There was a part last week you said, something about the treasurer talking about how since we make more investment money, we're up $8 billion this year, we can ask the state government for less money.
Right.
And you pointed out.
Yeah, that it's back to what Suzanne said. When times are good in this situation, investment returns have been good. It's like, hey, the state can get a break.
Yeah, exactly.
But no one ever says, hey, maybe these employees should pay less than 6% a month into this retirement because we're getting pretty good investment returns. And every time we go to ask for a COLA, if we're not getting good we don't have good investment returns, they can't have it.
Yep.
You have to get that out of the investment returns and not the General Assembly. Okay, fair enough. So we try to find
But when you have gains like this, the first thing you're going to say is, let's cut state investment.
Right. So
it's nothing about the
when do
COLA.
Retirees win? When that's the equation.
Especially when they were already for years putting in as little as possible. You need a break from that?
Yeah. No, I mean, you made that bed and we're all laying in it. But you want the retirees. And when I say you, this current legislature did not make that bed. None of them were there.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think any of them were. That's how old we are, Suzanne. But when they were putting in nothing right at the beginning of the 2000s, it was a whole different crowd.
Mm-hmm. It was.
But the thing that hasn't changed is retirees come in literally last on the list of priorities. It's insane. And employees don't fare much better.
Yeah.
And when times are good, they're told they're not that good.
Yeah.
And even if you have huge surpluses, they still don't want to give it.
It almost goes against common political thought, though, if you think about it. Like, politicians seem to try to cater to older citizens because they vote more, it seems like. But in this case, they don't really care, right? I mean...
Yeah.
Is that...
I mean, that is kind of that was an old political philosophy, is that your bloc that really would vote is older folks. But I think that kind of turned on its head
really
some time ago when older folks started voting not as much with their pocketbook anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Who are they catering to currently? Because it doesn't feel like they're catering to anyone.
Well,
I mean,
because they're not catering to state employees
to
help them. They're not catering to the retirees to help them. Who are we catering to?
So I do think taxes have gone down. So in terms of all of us as tax-paying North Carolinians, yes, we're paying less in taxes. If you look at state taxes, though, they're not really a massive part of what's coming out of your paycheck, right?
Yeah,
it's
that's
your
the thing.
Federal taxes that are really... So when you think about reducing that by the amounts we're talking about, it's not going to change your life. Whereas if you're in line 3 hours at DMV, you would probably give somebody $200 to get that line to go away. So you have to look, as with any investment, at ROI, the return on investment. What kind of return are we getting on the investment we are making in public services?
See, I think
very little.
I think I just caught your brilliance in real time right there, though. I caught it before, so I don't have to listen back to find that one. But that's an awesome point. That what you pay,
I already forgot it.
What you
I don't
pay
know what
in
I said. What did I say?
What you pay in state taxes is minuscule compared to federal.
But
And-
it sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. So
Yeah, if you cut 3% down to 1%, that's like 66%.
That is not changing your life.
Yeah, but
It
it's
is-
really
It is the
$200
right
or something.
thought to try to keep the costs down for people who are just working hard to make a living.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about state employees. I'm talking about everybody. Everybody's going, for the most part, people aren't going to cushy jobs, sitting in a podcast room with foam on the walls. People are going and working very hard for not much, and they need the government to be as careful and prudent with spending those dollars as they can. So I don't think there's a soul that would argue that keeping the taxes as low as possible is important. But if you ask those same taxpayers, you gave them examples of what they might wait for or not get at all,
Yeah.
and told them the amount of difference it make in their paycheck, depending on their answer to this question, I think you'd be shocked how many would say, well, that ain't worth it.
Yeah, would
Yeah.
you pay another $80 a year to not have to wait 6 hours at the
Right.
I guess that's a bad analogy.
Well, I mean,
No,
No,
I'd
but-
do
it's
it.
the
No, I
one
think it's pretty
that makes sense
realistic.
to people. That's why we keep talking about DMV. It's what people think of government as. But
Yeah.
You think there aren't people who do make more money who go to the DMV and say, "I'll give you $100 if you let me cut you in line," and then they do
is
it?
that a market? Is there
Yeah,
a whole?
I'm gonna start camping out
Yeah.
every day. Get $100 from
hold,
somebody.
hold a spot.
It's probably worth it.
Yeah.
So speaking
DMV
of-
was in the news.
oh yeah, they can't stay out of
God
the.
bless them.
No,
They had another networking problem the other day that they couldn't take payments. I think.
they couldn't take credit
You
cards.
can take,
Yeah, which is a pain. Yeah, but you know that it was just another thing of people yelling at employees about that, and that was not the employee's fault at all. So,
Well, honestly, none of this stuff is the employee's fault.
but it
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 was
always turns into it.
It well, I mean, they're public facing, so that's
Yeah.
who people walk in the DMV, and that's who's going to catch whatever that person is bringing through the door.
Yeah,
But all these problems are from lack of funding, not being appropriately funded over all these years, and here we are.
mm-hmm. Well,
I mean, it's like working at Walmart. You're going to get yelled at
yeah,
for something Walmart does. But Walmart employees can grab the security, tell them to take you out of there
Yeah.
for talking
well,
ugly to them. Although apparently, based on videos off the internet,
Yeah, that doesn't always go very well either.
yeah. Well, at this point, most of it's like self checkout anyway, right? At Walmart,
that's true.
Yeah.
So they're not yelling at anybody.
well, and I'm sure we're moving towards
Yeah,
more and more and more automation of DMV to where it won't be as many people working at DMV.
Yeah, I mean, there's already a couple of kiosks somewhere,
Mhm.
which I mean, you can't do everything, but
And then you can already renew your driver's license if you're just like changing an address
Yeah.
or something online.
I pulled up to the Bojangles in my hometown yesterday, tiny town, and the drive-through thing was AI. It was like,
oh wow,
yeah, and I'm
Oh, wow.
like, how in the
I
wanna
don't
ask
like
you
Carthage,
something.
North Carolina? What?
interesting.
Speaking of areas near Sanford, I have
Yeah.
a question.
Yes,
I had a law school classmate who was from Broadway.
yeah, Broadway.
And he described it to people when they would say Broadway. It's a suburb of Sanford.
It is.
How can Sanford have suburbs?
It's our. We have two suburbs. We have. Well,
People from Sanford really think it's like New York or
we
something.
actually have like maybe four, I guess. We got Tramway where I live. I live in Tramway, which is a suburb of Sanford. We have Broadway.
Carthage.
Broadway is like the carry to Sanford's Raleigh. So Broadway is
Oh.
like the big suburb.
Yeah, he dressed
Just-
very nice.
Broadway's
Yeah.
nice. It's a great little town. It has a state veterans memorial there.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's an awesome little town. They have an awesome Christmas parade. But we also have.
I think
we're
John
on,
wants everyone to move.
We're
to
on
Carthage.
Sanford minute now. This is not cool.
Carthage has the Boy Scout camp.
Yeah, I would say Carthage is its own town. Carthage is probably like the Durham to Sanford's Raleigh.
Well,
I just
what-
think
what's
of
the
it-
name
He
of
doesn't
the
want to claim it.
the barbecue joint that
Oh,
burned
Pick and
down?
Pig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there on the airfield.
yeah,
Some neat stuff out that way.
yeah. So that's Central North Carolina.
Yeah, I just had to ask you about that. I would have forgotten it again.
So along all these political lines we've been talking about today, I saw a story in the News and Observer today, I guess, that registered Republicans are almost passing Democrats in North Carolina. But that's for second place. You know what number one is? Most registered voters.
Independent.
Unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated, yeah.
So
Yeah, people don't like the parties as much at all.
No.
That seems like a kind of a newer phenomenon to me. But you see that like the Republican Party is pretty strong now here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's you hear a lot, but that doesn't mean, most people that you're trying to capture as voters are the ones that don't ever say anything about politics at all.
Yeah.
I'll say, as a Broadway musical Hamilton fan, George Washington said in his final address, he warned people about partisan fighting, and now everyone's saying, no, I just want to be independent. I don't want to party.
Mm-hmm. Well, as we were talking about earlier, we're fighting the same fights that we have fought. I don't care who's in charge. People always say, oh, well, if this group was in charge or if that group.
It'd be different.
No, you have to take every legislator one by one because they believe what they believe, and they're trying to do for their constituents what they believe in doing.
And do you see...
You never know.
Our Gen Z correspondent over here, do you see as the younger folks rise into of age to vote, are they choosing to be an unaffiliated voter as opposed to selecting a party? Or
I think that there has been a big shift to choosing unaffiliated/independent. When I first graduated college, there were a lot of people who were part of those radical ends that I kind of corresponded with and talked to. But I think there has been a much larger shift to just being like, I don't want to claim either side because both sides make mistakes.
Yeah.
Both sides have said that they're going to do one thing and then absolutely don't do it. And they're just like, I don't want to claim to be a part of either. So I'm just going to. And they also just think both sides make good points.
Well, and yeah, both sides make good points and both sides make bad points. And in the line of work we're in, I've been accused of being hardcore Republican and hardcore Democrat, which is comical because I'm fighting with everybody all the time. Like, only when there's a reason to fight.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, we're thanking people.
Exactly.
There's plenty of people showing up and doing the right thing in the General Assembly. And we will always support. I think it's harder for people to stand out there on that limb and do the right thing for people and really fight hard for it if it's not what a group wants.
Yeah.
I do think it's a much different place in terms of, it's real hard to be independent down there in terms of spirit.
Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, let's go to the Gen Z Minute. What's going on in Gen Z world?
So something that has widely spread on TikTok is something called the Gen Z stare.
I've seen this.
And it is having workplaces worried about Gen Z's communication skills. So I first noticed it being a lot of millennials just kind of making fun of Gen Zs. And it seemed like it was more of revenge, quote unquote, for how the Gen Zs made fun of them for the millennial pause, which is inherently an awkward time to pause before they would start a video or doing like a transition on TikTok. People were making fun, being like, haha.
We're gonna
you guys have an awkward pause.
Here. What?
I'm never going to do a video again.
It's like when you start the video and they'd like stand there and they'd be like, okay, now go.
Oh, like I just did with the podcast, right? When I was like, are you ready? Okay. Like that? Okay.
It's kind of like that. And Gen Zs were making fun of a lot of millennials.
What do y'all do? Start talking before you hit play or record?
No, like we start as soon as the record button's going. It's the video started, you're going.
Okay.
The millennials, it seems like for the trend that it was on TikTok, it seemed like almost they would sit there, stare at the screen, be like, I don't know if it's going. And then they would process it and start.
But the Gen Z stare is something more than that, right?
Yes.
It's just general.
It is, among the articles that I found talking about it, there was one from the International Business Times in which the author of the article was a Gen Z and defended it.
Mm-hmm.
And said that as much as it feels like a cop-out for some people, COVID is one of the things, because I feel like this is much wider spread among younger Gen Zs and not the older Gen Zs. But COVID is one of those things that she refers to as a reason for people like thinking the Gen Z stare comes from a limited capacity for small talk and communication.
So let's define what the Gen Z stare is.
It can come up in certain situations. Main situation seems to be in small talk situations in customer facing roles. In one instance, millennials have said that it comes from
What is it though? What
Yeah,
do you
like,
do?
when
Like
you
it's a blank stare.
So Sam and I were talking about this before we came in to record the podcast, and she gave me an example of a person asking about a smoothie. Does a banana strawberry smoothie, does that have bananas in it?
And instead of being customer service like, our generation has decided that we are going to give you the face that you deserve from that kind of question and just have the face of
Not
that is
very
the
nice.
worst question you could possibly ask me.
I try to be very supportive of Gen Z,
It
as
just
you know,
seems
but
like-
that's just mean. That's
Yeah.
ugly.
But some millennials have also said that it's not like that. That's not when the instance that they're talking about it is. They're talking about you're at a grocery store, customer service comes up to you and says, "Hi, how are you? Can I help you?" And they are getting the Gen Z stare of just a blank stare of like,
Oh,
no, just looking at them.
from the person.
Yes,
Okay.
from the Gen Z who's like looking at them.
Like,
They've
why are you
asked-
talking
Like
to
you
me?
don't-
Yes.
Like you don't have people skills.
Yes.
Like
So-
you can't. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So some people are blaming it on COVID because I feel like this is more widely spread amongst the younger Gen Zs because when they were in high school and could have been getting after school jobs, they were stuck at home. They also weren't talking to classmates in hallways. They weren't
The
interacting with people like
socialization
that.
wasn't there.
They would log on to their computer, stare at their teacher for an hour, log off.
Mhm.
They didn't have those socialization aspects. But another defense for it was that Gen Zs are just genuinely done with fake small talk conversation and don't want to be bothered by anyone really when they're out in public because they know that these people don't usually mean it. They don't want to help you necessarily. They're just saying it to say it because it's part of their job. And they're just like,
Huh.
leave me alone kind of thing.
Well, devil's advocate, what if sometimes those not silly, but just being polite.
Mhm.
Sometimes those end up with more interaction happening between the two people. And I don't know, when I'm in store, I talk to everybody. So
Yeah.
when I leave, sometimes I'm like, that was nice. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up learning something about the person I was talking to some weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't know how much to defend it. Like, I can defend it when it comes to the nonsensical questions of saying things like, does a strawberry banana smoothie have bananas in it? I can kind of defend it and just be like, okay, that instance of people complaining about the Gen Z stare, I understand that. However, when it comes to just genuine small talk, it's okay to look at someone and say, I'm good, how are you? That's allowed.
Yeah.
Just because you guys don't like small talk doesn't mean you don't have to do it. So my kind of question to you guys is, do you think that the Gen Z stare comes from a lack of soft skills and communication? Or is it that they are just responding in a more honest way than previous generations?
Maybe a combination.
Yeah, I think that's a
Maybe a
combination.
combination. Because I get being done with the fakeness but I also get being polite. And like you said,
Yeah, I don't like it
know.
when honesty is used as a reason for rudeness.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You can still be polite. And I still think some of it too has to do with COVID, shut everybody down. You didn't get to socialize. You didn't get to do the things that you normally would have done.
Well, it
So,
definitely was a disservice,
Yeah.
to y'all to have that happen at that point in your lifetime. I mean, that's a rough thing.
I think it's also because so many Gen Zs are moving away from customer service facing jobs
Yeah.
as their first
That's right.
jobs that they're not experiencing
Yeah.
how to first have those.
Put them
small
at the
fake
DMV and
interactions.
let them
There we
have some
go.
people yell at them, and they'll
There we go.
they'll learn how to do it. They'll wish
Because-
people were being polite,
At my first job,
faking it.
besides babysitting, like I was great at that, love kids. I babysat, but my first job outside of that, I worked at an American Eagle and a Burlington. You deal with a lot of angry customers, you deal with a lot of kind customers.
Yeah.
The best way to get past either of them is just be nice.
And you can fold, I bet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm
That's the
great
best
at
part of
that.
a job like that.
I'm great at
Learn how
that. My clothes look like I work in a store still because I
No
will
doubt. My
fold
daughter's hard like
my t-shirts, pajamas, everything. It looks like I work in a store still.
Cool. So
well,
that's
once again, we learned something about you.
yeah, Gen Z.
We're always sitting here just thinking after you're done, like, huh?
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, that was a
So-
trending topic that I kind of thought was
Any pop culture?
Elmo had a crash out.
Oh, that was crazy. Suzanne sent that to us.
By the way, for anyone who does not know, that was a genuine hacking, especially after there were some very negative anti-Semitic comments made on that Twitter. They were able to track down and figure out that that was a hacking because, of course, our favorite 5-year-old friend teaching us how to be kind on Sesame Street would not say those things.
Elmo's not my favorite on Sesame Street.
Who is it? Cookie Monster? Big Bird?
Grover. It's always been Grover.
I don't like Sesame Street.
First year I went to New York City, I saw Big Bird in Central Park.
Nice.
Just walking around.
That would terrify me.
Our policy platform committee met today, so
You missed it.
yeah,
To do the important work.
yeah, they did.
Okay, well, before we wrap this up, what's the biggest takeaway from what the scenic members who were on policy platform were?
So always money, money is always at the top of the list. There were also some motor fleet issues with there's a certain amount of mileage that you have to meet or the agency gets penalized.
So explain policy platform.
So policy platform is the committee of members who make a decision on what we're going to address in the legislature or policy-wise with agencies, independently.
And it can be as large as like pay raises, and it can be as small as like boots for DMT.
Exactly. So we had a good handful of policies to address today.
Yeah.
And they were good. There's some concern in adult correction, which we expanded to maybe address the issue in other agencies about being able to carry your personal weapon.
Oh, okay.
For non-certified or certified employees already have a weapon. So for employees who are driving maybe a DAC car, that identifies them, a DPS car, it identifies them. There have been some incidents where people have been approached and, just felt unsafe. So that was one of the big discussions today, was for them to have some kind of policy of being able to bring their own weapon. And weapon isn't just a firearm. So
that's actually kind of something that we talked about with Ramona today. By the way, guys, new Gen Z episode next week. Woohoo. She was talking about how when she has to go downtown to Wake County quite often, she has to park far away. She is a probation and parole officer having to go downtown for things. And sometimes people target because they know you're a state employee, and it gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, it was big conversation.
And they don't have any special parking, and they will get ticketed if their meter runs out while they're in court.
And forward to hearing from her. That's I don't think about things like that.
So all of those things will go to our convention where our delegates will vote on.
Actually, every one of the policies that they addressed today was approved by the committee, and it will move on to our convention to be considered. The convention passes it, then it becomes part of our platform.
And if you're still listening, God bless you. And also, we do have slots for 5 for the convention scholarship. So if you're interested in seeing what our convention is all about, you can apply for one of those, and you get to join us up there and be part of the action.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you join us.
That's where you learn all kinds of things, just like you just talked about, that we would never know are issues out there.
So let's get to my question, and then we'll get out of here.
Right.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
So it'll be a quick one today in honor of World Emoji Day. What's your favorite emoji? Anyone want to start?
The huggy one.
The hug?
The hug. The one where it's got like the little smile, the eyes closed and the arms out. Yay.
I think it's the woman shrugging because...
Or the face palm.
When in doubt, I'm confused. I'm just like, oh. And so I just kind of send that one to my family very often. They get that one from me quite often. They'll ask me a question and be like, do you know what time your brother is doing this? And I'm like, ask him. Why are you asking me? And I'll just send like that emoji, and I'm like,
So I like the roll eyes one, and it's like it's easy to mistake though. Like people don't really get it all the time because it really just looks like a face looking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably not catch that.
It's just like a face with the eyes.
You probably do it to me, and I don't know.
Do you have a favorite emoji?
I'm not a big emojer.
Oh, hey, is that
a verb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, noun.
Some people are really into emojis. You ever get those people? Yeah.
Love the emoji that's like, it's not the heart eyes one, but it's the like smiling face, and then it has a couple hearts around it. Because whenever like I'm texting my mom, I'll be like, I love you, I miss you. Hearts.
Affectionate.
Multiple
They're
hearts.
so small.
Yeah, that's
that
why she gets.
I'm afraid of clicking like the wrong one.
The wrong thing.
They also have
It could
so many
happen.
meanings that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't.
Yeah, I
I
think
do
you're-
well to get by with words.
Artist accidentally sends the purple devil emoji, just being like, haha, I'm being mischievous. That's not what that means, artist.
Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That is more of a spicy emoji for a lot of people.
Oh,
Okay.
I would never know that.
Oh.
See, I need to stay away.
Yeah,
Word.
just stay away
we're
from
too old
emoji
for
day.
emojis.
Shout out to podcast #1 fan Cliff Johnson for his emoji. He always sends the little
Yes,
hat.
he does, with the hat. Yeah.
Yes. Every email, every text message
Get better, Cliff.
for him.
Yeah.
Oh, is he
He's
under the
bionic
weather?
now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And knee replacement surgery.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
mentioned that.
Telling all
Sorry,
his
just told you
business. Thank
business.
Cliff.
Spitting it, yeah. Well, we love you, Cliff, and we love you, Scenic members. Thanks for tuning in.
One more thing.
Oh,
Do not forget to like, follow, and subscribe the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, and then you can like and follow on Spotify so that you will be notified whenever we post a new episode.
yes, very important. Thanks for tuning in.
You're clear.
All right.